Hey girl, if you are struggling, let me fix that, it was crooked. If you're struggling with disappointment in your life and you want to have a real and honest conversation about just the feelings that come along with life, then I would really love for you to stay with my video today, because that's what we're talking about for Transform Your Mind Tuesday. It's coming your way right now. Well, hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you've been here for a bit, if you were new, I am super pumped that you are here today. My name is Lauren and my channel is all about making beauty easy for the girl who thinks that she can't, both internally and externally. My hope today is that you will consider subscribing and hit that notification bell so that you can get alerts every single time I upload new videos, which is every single Friday, every third Thursday, and every fourth Tuesday of the month. And I know the format looks a little weird today. That is because it is Transform Your Mind Tuesday, and I am literally sitting in here in my car today getting ready to go in and hit a workout, but there is something so heavy on my heart today that I want to discuss with you here on my channel, and that is disappointment and its pain. I'm going through some hardship in my life right now, and I've just been dealing with it and trying to think of ways that I could help you if you're stuck in a place or in a phase or in a season of life that's just causing you a lot of pain or disappointment. So that's exactly what we are going to be talking about today. So what I want to do is end this intro and go ahead and jump into the meat and potatoes, no pun intended, or is it a pun intended? I'm going to have meat and potatoes later. I don't know. Let's just jump into what we're talking about today. Let's do it now. Well, hey, so it's Transform Your Mind Tuesday, and I know this is kind of a weird setup that I have going on. I'm actually in my car right now getting ready to go into the gym, and I've been thinking a lot about this topic for this month, and just kind of where I'm at in my own life and how I can encourage you in yours and where you are. And so I just kind of wanted to just take a few minutes and be honest about the word disappointment. There's some things going on in my life that are a struggle for me right now, and I'm struggling with areas of disappointment that I thought I would be a lot further with things in life, or that certain things that keep coming back up in my life would stop coming back up because of overcoming them. And I guess I just want to let you know if you're struggling with disappointment, and that can be disappointment because a relationship that you once had doesn't exist anymore, or you've been fighting for this goal or this dream, and it still hasn't come to fruition. And in fact, you keep beating your head against the wall because you can't quite figure out the missing links. You know what the missing links are, but you can't quite figure out how they actually go together to get you to the next phase of where you're trying to go. Or maybe, you're struggling because you've had a medical diagnosis that has just been life-shattering or altering. Maybe for you, it's the fact that your marriage has fallen apart. Gosh, I don't know. There's so many different things that we can struggle with and have disappointment in. And honestly, situations and even tragedy that shows up in our life at just a very inopportune time, which I don't think there's ever an opportune time for tragedy or hardship to show up. But there are times, I will say this, that it feels, I'm going to say it feels almost cruel to show up in certain times than others. And for me, I'm a Christian. I make no bones about where my faith lies and that I serve Jesus. But man, even in those times, it is really hard, to believe that God knows better. He's got a plan for my life, that his will is better than above all else, that he ultimately can do a better job at running my life than I can, because in those moments and in this moment that I'm in right now, I don't feel that way, right? I'm just struggling. I'm just a human being and I'm struggling. And so what I want to remind you of today is that he actually is okay, more than okay, but he wants you to live in that tension of, and I can't bring my arm out further because my window's here, but he wants you to live in that tension of your life. And what I mean by that is you're wrestling, right? You're wrestling with what life was supposed to be, and then you're wrestling with the reality of what it is. And maybe the reality of what it is that you're just experiencing a really incredible hardship right now in your life. For Lance and I, we're going through a lot of different things in our lives. And at 33, it hasn't quite panned out, no matter what it looks like on social media. It hasn't quite panned out the way that we want it. There's some deep-rooted desires that are really on hold right now. And in fact, they've been put on hold even more over this past week as I'm filming this video. And man, I've shed a lot of tears and just the heartbreak that I'm kind of going through and Lance is going through. And it's the season that we're in. And so, I guess I just want you to know that whatever you're struggling with, whatever disappointments that you're feeling, whatever pain you're in, you're not alone. And not only are you not alone from like, hey, guess what? I'm going through crap too. Like, I'm raising my hand. You're not alone, because even though I have a lot of questions and I'm wrestling with a lot of stuff, and I've done this my whole life being a Christian, you're not alone because there's a God that has a plan and a purpose for you. There's a God that has a hope and a future for you. In fact, that's what Jeremiah 29:11 says. And right now I'm just like, clinging to that verse with all that I have, along with the one that says in Romans, in chapter 8, verse 28, says he will work all things out for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purpose. And so that simply means, translated, that basically all the crap in your life that's wrong, God is going to turn something good out of it. And I have a lot of stories that I've never shared on YouTube, things that I've walked through and been through. And I can personally look back at those moments of pain in my life, in those times where life was shattered for me a few years ago. And I was walking through some things that I never thought I would ever walk through. And I was so so in tune with the Holy Spirit and God in that time. It really deepened my faith because I had nothing else to rely on. But at the same time, what it also did was, now I'm able to look back at that and go, whoa, that pain and that grief, all of that served a greater purpose, because without me walking in that darkness and only having Jesus to get me through and heal me from the inside out and make beauty from straight up ashes, I would not be where I'm at. I wouldn't have the relationship with my husband that I have. I wouldn't be here on YouTube, actually. There's so many different things that wouldn't be if I hadn't have gone through that season of pain. And so now, since I'm in this season of struggle again, and I'm trying to figure out some things, and Lance and I are working on business endeavors, and somewhat feels like fighting tooth and nail to make things work sometimes, even though we know we're called. Like, we know that, like, God put these desires in our hearts, and desire actually means of the Father. So when you're feeling something like that and you're like, this is part of my purpose, this is my heart's desire, that actually comes from God. And so the Bible also says he will give you the desires of your heart. And I want to take that a step further and say that not only will he give you the desires of your heart, he actually planted those there, which is why he wants to give you the desires of your heart. And it doesn't mean that your road to success, whatever that looks like, and success can be anything from having a successful marriage to having a successful business or having a successful career or whatever. But it doesn't mean that the road to success is one that's easy, and it certainly doesn't mean that it's going to be fast. One of our old pastors, this was a quote I'll never forget, and in fact I use it often, but he said that, I want to make sure I word it right. He said, where you're at right now, it's going to take longer than you think, but it's not going to take as long as you feel that it will. And man, that just like hits me with a ton of bricks, because it's like, it feels like we just keep trudging over the same dirt and keep hitting the same brick wall, or we're taking down bricks from that wall, but like we take down 3 and somehow 2 more get put up in its place. I don't know. That's how it feels sometimes. And so I just want to encourage you today that if you're facing disappointment, you're not alone. I would love to know down in the comments how I can pray for you. Like, what specific things do you struggle with that you need some prayer on? And if you don't feel comfortable sharing that in the comments, because those are public, you're welcome to direct message me on Instagram. I take it very seriously when you guys connect with me and you ask me to pray for you. I do. And I just wanted you to know that, like, wrestling and being in the tension of life and being in the midst of struggle is okay. And you're going to get there. You're going to reach your dreams. You're going to fulfill your life's purpose. The only way that you wouldn't is if you were to quit and to walk away and to just give up. And so there's an old illustration, and my husband and I were actually talking about it earlier this week as we're, facing some of the difficulties that we're in right now. But I was talking to him and we were talking about all these things, and I was like, I just don't want to be that person that knows, this illustration is like these guys were digging in a cave or a mine or something for gold, and they were digging and digging and digging, and they were like, oh, does it even exist? Is it even gonna work? Is it there? Blah, blah, blah. And they gave up. And then the illustration shows that they were literally 3 feet from it. And I feel like this is a true story somehow, and I can't remember if it's from the gold mining days, so I'm not sure now that I'm thinking about it. But they literally gave up 3 feet from the gold. And I don't want to be that person. Like, if you're on the cusp of breakthrough, but you're experiencing such incredible hardship, and you're butting up to that breakthrough with the hardship, well, guess what? breakthrough is on the other side of that hardship. It just really is. And so you just have to stay committed, and you have to keep walking it out, and you have to keep faith, and you have to hold on to faith. And when you struggle with faith, and when you struggle with anxiety, and you struggle with fear, here's a verse for you. In Timothy, it says, God has not given me a spirit of fear, but one of power, one of love, and one of sound mind. And what that simply means is that you just simply tell the enemy, get out. Your fear has no place in my life. Anxiety has no place in my life. All of the voices that are going on in your head telling you you're going to fail, this is not going to work. What if God doesn't show up? What if he doesn't meet your needs? What if you are totally just out to lunch with your dreams? And what if your dreams are too big? And what if this? Those thoughts that are happening and that are planted in your brain right now, that is not God. That is literally the enemy trying to keep you from your purpose and your talent and your fulfillment. And so, and I'm preaching to the choir this week, because again, I'm struggling. It's not about YouTube or anything like that. I'm just struggling in other areas. And so I just want to encourage you today to not give up, to not allow the enemy to steal from you. So I got cut off there. I didn't put my phone on Do Not Disturb, and Lance called right in the middle of this. So what I was saying was, the Bible actually says that the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And so what I want you to remember is that he is going to use any method that he possibly can to take from your life. And that's going to be in the messages that you hear about yourself, whether that's an internal dialogue or whether that's an other people dialogue. He's going to use situations that he knows ticks your ticker. Does that even make sense? That tick you, I guess. You know, for me, there's certain things that when things happen, it just sends a message to me immediately of like being fearful, of being scared, having scarcity mindset, fear of failure, all these things. And then his ultimate goal is to get you into this place where you just absolutely won't even trust in God, or if you're even still trying to figure God out and you're kind of like, you know, exploring faith, that you just turn away from that completely, so that you see that God is unreliable and that he's untrustworthy. And that really could not be further from the truth of how things are. Again, I haven't given my whole life story on YouTube. I don't know if I ever will, but there will be platforms where I'll share more about my life. I'm just not sure what that looks like yet. But I have seen God come through in some crazy ways in my life and perform miracles in my life that truly shouldn't have worked out or should have been there. So as I wrap up this Transform Your Mind Tuesday video, I want to leave you with a couple of quotes that I wrote down. And I'm reading this book right now, and I'll link it for you below in the description box. I'll link an Audible link, and then I'll link a link also for the actual tangible book. But I'm reading this book right now called It's Not Supposed to Be This Way by Lisa Turkers, and I hope I said her last name right. And I relate to so many things in her story that she's sharing in this book, and it's been a book that has really helped me to heal on a lot of things. It's been a book that has helped me to understand that I'm not the only one that feels the way that I do or struggles with disappointment, especially being a Christian woman, and just admitting that sometimes you're just kind of disappointed with how things work out and you're not really sure. You know, like my idea of how God is going to work is not necessarily the way that he does sometimes. And there's a whole thought process that goes along with that. But anyway, there's some really big pieces of this book that have really hit me hard, and I just want to leave you with a couple of quotes as I close out this video, and one of them is directly from her book. And it says this, it says, "You can find unexpected strength as you wrestle between your faith and your feelings." And that's encouraging to me, because what that means is that God's not ashamed of how I feel. God's not ashamed of the fact that he and I have had some really hard conversations, and I have just straight up told him, I feel like you're unreliable. I feel like you're not faithful. I feel like, yes, I know you're never late, but why are you never early? Why is everything always down to the last minute and I have to struggle and struggle and struggle? Like, you see me drowning over here, but you haven't come in to rescue me. You're just going to let me drown? Is that what's going to happen? Like, I've literally had those types of conversations with God, and I love seeing and knowing and having assurance that, one, he's not upset with me for that. He made me the way that I am. He made me in his image. He knows I'm a human being. And Jesus wrestled with these types of feelings while he was here on earth as a human being. So it's okay to wrestle with that, your faith and your feelings at the same time. So those of you who are beating yourselves up because you're a person of faith and you trust in Jesus and you trust God with your life, and you're trying to live out so many pieces of scripture with your heart when your heart's in turmoil, just know he's not ashamed of you. And then the last one is this. It says, in the middle of pain and disappointment and suffering, it's faith that whispers, this isn't permanent. So please remember today, as you're struggling with things, as you're fighting for air through certain situations, this isn't permanent. And faith is holding on to something that we can't even see. It talks about that in Hebrews. So the curtain call hasn't happened yet. The chapter in this book, like your book, if your life is a book, right, it's full of chapters. This chapter that you're in might be a really hard chapter. I think of the Harry Potter books I'm currently listening to on audio right now. And I think about the chapters that I'm in. It just filled me with tears. And if you haven't read the story, I won't give anything away. But there's parts of this book that are just heartbreaking. And I am like, oh, but I know it gets better. I know that that's not the end, right? And so the same is true of my life. There's some really tough chapters that have been written in my book. But man, there's some really victorious chapters. And I know that down the road, there's going to be some even more victorious chapters. And I know that the pain that I've been through is the very thing that's going to help me to help someone else in their life. It's going to help change lives. And it's part of my calling and my purpose. And to see women empowered, to see women get over some of the things, I don't say get over, but how about to find healing through things that have happened to them, through the struggles that they've been in, to help you know your worth, to help you realize that your worth is more than skin deep, to help you see that no matter who has left you in your life, you're still a valuable, valuable, valuable item, that you were actually bought at a price. So I hope this has been helpful for you today. And, I'd love to get to know you a little bit more in the comments. Again, feel free to share whatever you want with me. If this helped you, if it didn't, that's cool. We can chat about it. And I think that's about it. So if you haven't had a chance to subscribe to my channel, go ahead and do that now so you don't miss out on any future videos. We always do Transform Your Mind Tuesday every month, and I love it. It's one of my favorite things. And then, of course, connect with me on social media. It's one of my favorite places to connect with you. And until next time, I'll see you in my next video. #ReformTomboyFamily. I'll see you soon.